At the beginning of this story, we meet a boy named Ig Hoshimiya who, as a child, made a wish to a magical fairy named Dais. He wished for the world to be destroyed. Dais possessed the power to transform wishes into supernatural abilities, and, by granting Ig's wish, ended up causing the near-total destruction of the planet, taking countless lives. Currently, Ig is a high school student and lives with his younger sister, who suffers from an incurable disease. The event known as the Great Destruction is now part of history classes at school. During one of these classes, the teacher talks about the so-called orders, individuals chosen by the fairy and granted special powers by making their wishes. It is believed that one of these orders was responsible for the Great Destruction, but no one knows who he is. Ig takes this personally and leaves the room immediately. He still feels guilty about what happened 10 years ago and avoids approaching people, as the entire society fears and hates the orders, considering them dangerous and evil beings. One day, Dais comes to visit him and asks why. As someone with supernatural powers, he refuses to use them. Ig replies that he doesn't want to destroy the world again, so he prefers not to use them. However, Dais says he's misremembering the past and asserts that he didn't exactly ask for the world's destruction. Confused by this revelation, Ig watches the fairy disappear, leaving the suggestion that he returned to using his mysterious powers. Despite this, Ig continues to believe he caused the tragedy and briefly explains that he only wanted that kind of power because he wanted to be like a cartoon character called the Evil Ranger, someone who fought for justice and world domination. Later, Ig visits his sister Sina in the hospital, and she shows interest in her brother's school routine, as she has never attended school. Ig understands her feelings and promises that, when she recovers, she can study too, but they both know that promise is nothing more than wishful thinking. To change the subject, Ig turns on the television and sees a news report about another order being exposed. Sina asks her brother what his wish would be if he had the chance to become an order. At this point, Ig reaffirms that his only wish is for his sister to be cured, while Sina reveals that she would like to reunite the entire family, including their deceased parents, so they can live together forever. The next day, a new student named Kurenai Rin transfers to Ig's school. At the end of the day, she finds him near his apartment, saying she's moved upstairs and that his apartment key isn't working. She asks Ig to contact a locksmith, distracting him in the process. Charmed by Rin's appearance, Ig decides to trust her, which proves to be a grave mistake. Rin pulls out an electric taser and knocks him unconscious. When Ig regains consciousness, he finds Rin wielding a sword. She reveals herself to be a secret agent sent by her superior, who has discovered that Ig is the order responsible for the Great Destruction. Rin claims she will finish him off once and for all, as she claims Ig eliminated her parents during the Great Destruction tragedy. When wounded by her, Ig involuntarily activates his powers, causing Rin's sword to pierce her body. Shocked at having taken another life, the boy panics and runs away from home, feeling deeply guilty about everything. Meanwhile, the special unit to which Rin belongs also goes into action to capture Ig. When he tries to visit his sister in the hospital, he finds the place completely empty. Soon after, Rin appears unharmed, accompanied by soldiers, revealing that she has kidnapped Sina. To provoke Ig, she stabs Sina in the back and orders him to go to an abandoned building if he wants to save her. Ig loses control and defeats all the soldiers present. When he calms down, Dais appears again and explains that Rin is also an order, with regeneration powers so advanced that they make her practically immortal. When questioned about her presence there, Dais replies that she just wants to see him use his powers once more, to prevent them from spiraling out of control as before. She imposes a limit on his strength and encourages Ig to use them to save his sister. These words awaken Ig's memories, reminding him that his original desire was to rule the world and promote peace, just like the Evil Ranger, his childhood hero. Realizing he never wanted to destroy the world, he lets go of his guilt and confidently sets out to confront Rin. After defeating her subordinates, Ig forces her to heal Sina and reveals that his true power is to bend everything to his will. He activates his domain, where all people and objects become his puppets, and summons his creature of order, which subdues Rin, forcing her to obey Ig forever and preventing her from harming him or her sister again. With Rin under his control, Ig declares he will create a world where Sina can live happily. Despite her reluctance, Rin cannot bring herself to attack him and is forced to submit. Ig tries to comfort her, telling her that one day she will find peace, make friends, and even fall in love again. Rin vehemently denies this, stating that she will never love again. Their argument intensifies until IG accidentally activates his power by saying he will marry her. This accidental declaration awakens feelings in Rin, who, despite embracing him, promises to kill him someday. Shortly thereafter, Rin's superior, Fran, also an Order member, appears and uses her powers to stop time and capture IG before he can react. Fran takes him to a restricted facility of the organization and locks him in a straitjacket. To IG's surprise, Rin arrives later and frees him, explaining that they are in a secret underground building beneath a government office. She reveals that she has already neutralized all the guards and is only helping IG because he is still under her control. However, she makes it clear that, if given the chance, she still intends to kill him, along with his sister, to avenge her parents. And as they attempt to escape through a ventilation shaft, Rin devises a plan to injure IG without attacking him directly. She fires a shot into the shaft, hoping the projectile will ricochet and hit him, but the plan fails, and she herself is injured. Despite surviving thanks to her regeneration, Rin continues to devise new plans to end IG. She leads him down a dangerous path, through a slippery, inclined pipe that leads to the other side of the facility, hoping he'll slip and disappear. However, she's the one who ends up falling. Rin eventually returns to the top, where IG, unaware of the exit, has been waiting for her. Despite all her failures, Rin devises yet another plan to finish him off. She takes IG to Section 17, asking him to navigate a corridor filled with traps designed to prevent intruders from entering. Rin waits for him to trigger one of these traps, but once again, she's the one trapped. Finally, they reach the top floor of the underground facility, where they find two paths, one leading to the exit and the other to the center of the government building. However, IG can't leave without his sister, so he decides to go to the office. Aware that Fran is holding Sina hostage, Rin tries to convince him to give up and forget about his sister, but IG refuses, even though he knows they're not related by blood. He explains that his father married a woman whose daughter used a wheelchair, and although he initially felt no affection for his stepmother or his new sister, Sina's infectious energy made him truly consider her part of the family. However, IG's desire to become a world ruler ultimately destroyed everything, ruining the peace they had. So far, Sina is unaware that her brother is an evil order, and IG blames Rin and his companions for not letting his sister die in peace, revealing that Sina only has 6 months to live due to her illness. IG makes it clear how important she is to him and heads toward the office. A group of soldiers try to stop him, but IG easily neutralizes them using his power. Faced with a situation, Rin decides to help IG rescue Sina, sharing crucial information about Fran's abilities. She explains that Fran can only stop 3 targets at a time when using her time-freezing power. Despite being forced to do so by IG's control, Rin joins him, and the two advance to the center of the facility, where Fran anxiously awaits them. Rin throws 3 grenades at Fran, trying to force him to use up his 3 time freezes. However, Fran simply picks up the grenades and throws them on the ground, attempting to trigger an explosion throughout the area. IG rushes to stop the grenades from detonating, and Fran takes the opportunity to approach and try to regain control of him. Before either of them can reach the grenades, a masked man appears and uses his power, called Sleeping Sheep, to deactivate the explosions. He demands that everyone calm down. Soon after the masked man intervenes, other elite members of the orders arrive and surround IG on all sides. A man wearing a hijab approaches IG and tells him that he has passed the test. The others begin to applaud, leaving IG confused as to why everyone is acting so friendly now. The man explains that they are the 10 top orders in the city administration. One by one, they introduce themselves as Fua, Norakami, Haragi, Io, the girl with bunny ears, Lauren, Nahara, Samaku, Minamoto, Kunu, and Sundan. Then Haragi approaches and assures them that they never intended to hurt IG. He reveals that Fran's power to freeze time is being used to halt the progression of Sina's disease. Haragi also explains that Rin had been sent as a spy, but disobeyed orders because of her personal vendetta and will be punished for it. He then proceeds to inform IG about the Order's secret operations. After the great Great Destruction, Japan collapsed as a nation, and the UN intervened, creating provisional governments run by the orders themselves. Since then, these empowered individuals have become the new world leaders. Therefore, they don't see IG as an enemy. In this new world, they seek his help in dominating the planet, revealing that their sector has already declared itself an independent nation. IG understands that to survive, he must become both king and puppet of the orders in their quest to conquer the world. To avoid betrayal, he places everyone under his rule and agrees to lead this war. After the declaration of independence of Kyushu, the new country under IG's command, news of the war against the world spreads quickly. IG's image is broadcast globally, and he becomes hated by the public for destroying peace. Sina remains frozen in time, hoping that IG will find an order capable of curing her. He understands that both he and Sina can benefit from this new world, and tells Haragi that he will help their mission as long as they find a cure for his sister. Meanwhile, Rin is held in a cold, cramped cell, but fortunately for her, IG is now the new leader and orders her release. He joins the other orders for their first official meeting, where Kunu presents the next plan to conquer the neighboring city of Yamaguchi. Yamaguchi's interim leader is also an order, with the power to petrify. IG, in fact, has no interest in the war. His only concern is finding someone with the power to cure incurable diseases. Even so, he is chosen to go to the front lines and face the enemy. IG claims that others should fight for him, since no army sends its own king to the battlefield, but no one supports him. And Kunu makes it clear that he is not their king, but a puppet who will follow orders if he wants to keep Sina alive. IG refuses to believe he is being manipulated this way. Using his powers, he has already placed the entire facility under his control, preventing the 10 orders from leaving. Still, they show no obedience, which makes IG wonder if perhaps they are unimpressed because he has not yet demonstrated the true extent of his power. Soon after, the Prime Minister of Japan summons IG's group for a mutual understanding and broadcasts the conversation live to the public. Kunu, as strategist, remains by IG's side during the call and conducts most of the conversation with the Prime Minister. She claims that IG is solely responsible for the coup, and that everyone follows him only because they are under his control. In reality, this is the opposite of what is happening. The Prime Minister already suspected that the 10 orders were using the boy as a scapegoat, despite their claims to confirm that they are truly under his control. He reveals that he has kidnapped all of the 10 orders' family members and declares that now they will have to watch their loved ones die in silence, since, under IG's control, they can do nothing. The executioner begins executing the 10 orders' family members, one by one, in front of the entire nation. IG begs the Prime Minister to stop this inhumane act, but he is not listened to. The leader declares that peace is no longer an option. Just as the executioner is about to eliminate Kunu's younger brother in front of her, she begins to break down. To protect her and prevent discovery, IG decides to act. He begins shooting at all the members of the 10 orders, making it clear to the world that they are being held hostage. Although everyone believes IG murdered his own allies, the truth is that he stopped the bullets in time and used the action to save the hostages the Prime Minister had taken. With all 10 on the ground, IG ends the broadcast, making the Prime Minister believe he is solely responsible for the coup. A few days later, the invasion of Yamaguchi begins, with IG and Rin leading the operation alongside several armed units. IG tells Rin that he is determined to conquer Yamaguchi, believing that this will allow the 10 orders to recognize his strength, and, in doing so, help him find a cure for Sina. Rin considers IG's plan foolish and refuses to help him. He then forces her to cooperate and imposes a condition. She inform him if she encounters the greatest threat there, known as the Rock God. As they make their way through a tunnel to enter Yamaguchi, the ceiling begins to collapse. The soldiers accompanying them retreat, revealing that they have no loyalty to the new king. At the moment of danger, Io, the girl with the rabbit ears, appears and uses her divination power to predict the perfect escape route. Following her instructions, IG and Rin manage to escape the tunnel safely. Io advises IG not to face the Rock God, saying he has no chance of defeating him, while Rin is distracted by a stuffed toy. Yo then guides IG elsewhere. Without offering any explanation, he continues to stare at her bunny ears, barely able to resist the urge to touch them. Then, upon noticing IG's hand moving, Yo jumps away and declares that he cannot touch her ears, as it would make her pregnant. She adds that if he did, she would lose her divination powers. IG promises not to touch her, but deep down, the desire remains. Rin returns with a smile on her face, not because of the stuffed toy she brings, but because she fulfilled her task and brought the rock god to IG. As promised, IG tries to use his power to subdue the rock god, but fails, as he must first subdue the order controlling the creature. With no other choice, he hides with Yo inside a cave and asks for her help in locating the order responsible. As she prepares to use her powers, her energy suddenly runs out and she collapses to the ground. IG, on reflex, tries to grab her by the bunny ears, which immediately makes her pregnant. Since she is now pregnant and therefore unfit for war, IG decides to take her to safety. Meanwhile, Rin tries to save a little girl and ends up encountering Tara, the ruler of Yamaguchi and controller of the rock god. Io claims she's not only pregnant, but also about to give birth. IG tries to contact headquarters for help, but his communication device doesn't work. Tara, thanks to her intelligence, already suspected that IG had the power to physically dominate anything within his domain, and now confirms this when she realizes Rin can't break free, knowing that Rin also wants to kill IG. Tara tells her that the United Nations is about to launch a nuclear missile at Yamaguchi to stop him. Tara proposes that they team up to kill IG before the UN makes that decision. IG also learns about the missile threat from Io, but is too busy with the baby's impending birth. He takes Io to a local hospital, where a nurse congratulates him on becoming a father. At that moment, IG realizes that even though he hasn't done anything to Io, the child she's carrying is his. Io asks him to leave her at the hospital and deal with the missile problem, but IG refuses, stating that he cannot abandon the mother of his child. Rin decides not to join Tara for two reasons. First, she doesn't care if the entire city is destroyed. Second, she wants revenge on IG on her own, without any outside help. At this point, IG manages to communicate with Rin by climbing a network tower. Discovering that she has found Tara, he orders Rin to finish her off. Rin attacks, but forgets that Tara has the power to petrify her targets, thus turning her to stone. Tara then uses the signal from IG's device to report his location to the United Nations, which launches a nuclear missile from a hidden submarine. As the missile approaches, Kunu asks Haragi what they should do. Haragi responds that he doesn't care if IG dies or escapes, and orders the soldiers to retreat from Yamaguchi. Tara then arrives at the hospital accompanied by the rock god and attacks IG and Io to protect themselves. IG creates an air barrier around them. The citizens of Yamaguchi don't understand why their leader is attacking them and demand an explanation. Tara declares her target IG and reveals to everyone that he is responsible for the great destruction. The residents, who lost loved ones in this disaster, turn on IG and begin attacking him with rocks. Even the nurse who had previously congratulated him reveals she lost her only son because of him and stabs him in the back. This moment makes IG realize that, because of his past sins, he may never be loved by anyone. Meanwhile, the 10th Order, Ayahito Sundan, appears where Rin is petrified and reveals himself to be a United Nations spy, responsible for leaking information about the 10 Orders to Tara. Tara descends, believing IG to be unconscious, but he surprises everyone by revealing himself unharmed, using his power of domination. IG binds them under his orders to cooperate and ensure he doesn't die. With only 3 minutes left until the missile impact, IG orders the rock god to lift him. When the missile enters his field of vision, he commands gravity to reduce its speed and manages to catch it before it hits the ground. At that very moment, the man in the hijab, Narukami Benkei, and Lauren Wright, another member of the 10 Orders, jump out of a moving plane. With Lauren's power of flight, Benkei reaches IG's position and uses his ability called Aramatama to hit the missile. The impact causes it to completely disintegrate, revealing that Benkei is the strongest of them all. Apparently, they only came to save IG because Haragi still considers him a useful tool. Tara informs them that a second missile has been launched. IG urges the citizens to evacuate and says he no longer wants anyone to die because of him. Tara, however, considers his words hypocritical, as someone who committed genocide, even unintentionally, should not be given the right to redeem themselves. Overcome with a desire for revenge, she orders the rock god to crush IG. Benkei and Lauren intervene to protect him, both expressing gratitude for his saving their family by playing the villain before the nation. Their words strengthen IG, who then sets out to stop the second missile. He shields the townspeople from the falling rocks and prevents the missile from hitting the ground. Realizing IG isn't a villain, Tara decides to help him and uses the rock god to help contain the projectile. Ayahido teleports there with Rin, and with her regenerative powers, she restores the rock god to his original form. With everyone united, Benkei destroys the second missile with another punch and saves the city once again. Meanwhile, Haragi contacts local leaders to propose a deal. He promises to tell the full truth if the attacks on Yamaguchi are suspended. Ayahido returns to Haragi and reveals that he has always been a double agent. His goal was to distract the and make them focus on Ig, who was actually just a decoy. Haragi's true plan was always different: to secure possession of a young order named Tarotama Hikari, who possesses the power to neutralize nuclear warheads. Now that she is with them, Haragi believes the no longer poses a threat. Meanwhile, Dies, the fairy, speaks with a mysterious man about recent events, and both express hope that the world will become a peaceful place, like a beautiful flower garden. The 10 orders rest in the hot springs of Yamaguchi district. Now that their mission is complete, they now control 2 cities. And all of this was only possible thanks to Hoshimiya Ig. Io is no longer pregnant, and the baby that caused comical situations has disappeared. While the women of the 10 orders relax together in the hot springs, Lauren approaches Ig and informs him that his sister, Sina, has awakened from her slumber. Apparently, Haragi had ordered Fran to end the time freeze on her, resulting in her awakening. Knowing this, Ig takes Rin with him and flies back to his hometown of Kyushu with Lauren's help. Along the way, Ig vents his anger on Haragi, demanding to know why he would break their agreement. When Ig arrives at Sina's apartment, he finds her with Haragi, Nahara, and 3 men who appear to be doctors. Ig grabs Haragi by the tie and demands an explanation. Haragi states that Ig's request to the government has been accepted, and that Sina will begin receiving treatment. Unable to understand Haragi's meaning, Ig is confused, until Haragi whispers quietly, asking him to cooperate with the act. Ig then realizes that the whole thing is a ruse designed to keep Sina unaware of her brother's true identity. Apparently, the shock of Rin's attack has left Sina's memories confused, and now she remembers nothing. Therefore, Haragi is pretending she was taken there to be treated by the best doctors in the country, hoping to cure her. Initially relieved, Ig soon despairs when Haragi reveals that Sina has only 5 months to live, suffering from an incurable blood cancer. Ig tries to cheer her up, but Sina loses hope and is saddened by his hiding the truth. Despite this, she quickly forgives him and, through tears, expresses her desire to go to school with him. Haragi interrupts, saying there is still a chance, as an order named Kamamusabai, who lives in the city of Izumo, has the power to cure incurable diseases. He advises Ig to take Sina there, as this is his last hope. Ig decides to head to Izumo with Sina and Lauren's help, but since it is already late, Lauren suggests they spend the night there and leave the next day. Meanwhile, Nahara gives Haragi the real report on Sina, which surprises him, as it shows that her aptitude as an order is at level E. Haragi doesn't explain what this means, but states that the second great destruction will soon occur, and that before that, the 10 orders will need to take control of the world. Later that night, Ig learns from one of the soldiers that Sina has already left with Haragi and Kunu. Realizing they may be plotting against him again, Ig rushes to the scene and finds Sina unconscious. Haragi claims he is merely conducting an experiment to see if Sina can become an order. Ig realizes that, even after everything, Haragi still wants to keep Sina hostage, so he uses his powers to rescue her. But before he can escape, Haragi uses his own abilities and teleports Sina back to himself. He makes it clear that if Ig wants Sina to stay alive, he will have to conquer Japan for himself. With this in mind, Ig resumes his journey and heads to Hiroshima accompanied by Rin, determined to transform the region into his new domain. With Lauren's help, he flies over the entire city and manages to take it over. Lauren explains that Hiroshima is controlled by the Japanese mafia, the Yakuza. Ig then uses his powers to subdue the mafia and transform Hiroshima into his territory. Within this new domain, Ig takes the opportunity to go out with Rin on an unofficial date, spending the day with her and sampling the local specialties. As Rin is about to buy ice cream in the late afternoon, a mysterious man with powers similar to Ig's approaches and lifts the control imposed on her. At the same time, the Yakuza begin pursuing Ig, leading him to suspect something is wrong with his domain. At that moment, the mysterious man, Hattori Hanzu, introduces himself. He belongs to the non-public security division and reveals himself to be an order. Hanzu possesses the power to dominate others through physical contact and has used this ability to control both the Yakuza and Rin, ordering them to attack Ig. Rin lunges at Ig, who tries to regain control over her, but is unable to do so because she is wearing headphones and cannot hear his commands. Rin brutally cuts off Ig's right hand to prevent him from using his powers, just as she is about to deliver the final blow. Benkei and Io appear to save him. Rin defeats them both, and in a desperate act, Ig throws a rock at Hanzu with the speed of a bullet, piercing his body. However, Hanzu reveals he is merely a pawn, manipulated by the true enemy, who now seeks to devour Ig with dark powers. Before he can, Haragi arrives with Ayahido's help and uses his power to transform reality into a lie, freeing Ig and healing his wounds. Benkei and Io are also saved. Haragi punches Hanzu, forcing him to flee, but Hanzu takes Rin with him, and she, surprisingly, goes willingly. Ig desperately demands an explanation, and the fairy herself appears, revealing that the man behind everything is Ig's biological father, Hoshimi Agenai. Ig questions who the man he saw behind Hattori was, manipulating everything. Hiragi and the others hesitate to answer, but Dai's suddenly appears and informs them that this man is Hoshimi Agenai, Ig's father. Ig doubts the claim, as he believed his father had died 10 years ago during the Great Destruction, but Dais simply stares at him and says that Rin and Hattori are on their way to Izumo. Izumo is known as the land where all the ancient gods gather. Ig was only allowed to go there if Io accompanied him to supervise him, so the two set off together toward Izumo. Io quickly notices Ig's worried expression and uses her divination power to predict the future. The vision takes them to the home of Kamamusabai, the order rumored to possess healing powers, on the outskirts of Izumo. Along the way, Io can't contain her joy at being alone with Ig. Ever since the prophecy about her pregnancy, she's seen how Ig has embraced his responsibility. She prepares to hold his hand as a show of affection, but Ig interrupts, saying he's sorry she was forced to accompany him. He mentions that if Rin were present, Io wouldn't have to be there. Io then realizes that Ig has been thinking about Rin the whole time. She tries to confess her feelings, but Ig speaks first, apologizing for getting her pregnant. He promises never to touch her ears again, which saddens her. Upon reaching their destination, they follow footprints that lead them to a tunnel. Suddenly, a landslide forces them to run down the tunnel, and Ig carries Io to avoid being crushed. Io uses her foresight to guide them on the right path, but wanting to spend more time with Ig, she gives him wrong directions, causing them to fall off a cliff into the water. Luckily, Ig manages to save her, and the two build a fire to dry their clothes. Ig apologizes again for causing so much trouble and talks about Rin again. This angers Io so much that she asks him to look only at her. Io declares her feelings. Before Ig can respond, several people surround them. At the head of the group is a woman who introduces herself as the priestess of Izumo, named Kamamusabai. The priestess soon begins to berate Ig for being so stubborn and ignoring Io's feelings. Then, Kamamusabai begins to fantasize about her and Ig, which makes the two teenagers embarrassed and uncomfortable. Io begs Kamamusabai to help them, and since she seems to sympathize with them both, she agrees, but imposes one condition. They can only receive her help if they can beat her in a game of Kemery, or if they manage to steal the ball without Ig using his command to control it. Ig accepts and uses his command to manipulate the air, sending his body flying directly toward Kamamusabai. However, she deftly dodges it. She then reveals that her command is the power to manifest ancient gods, which makes her superhuman, since people pray to these gods for healing or fertility. She can also grant these blessings. Ig realizes that this woman can indeed heal his sister. They restart the game, and Kamamusabai passes the ball between her and the gods she summons, while Ig tries to capture it with the help of Io, who uses her foresight to guide him. Despite this, Kamamusabai proves too fast for them both. After a few hours of playing, Ig collapses in Io's lap. Io begins wiping Ig's sweat, which leads him to admit that he's not used to being liked by anyone. He explains that a classmate once invited him to her house, but instead, he chose to go home and read manga. Io caresses his face and comments that he's really insecure. However, she promises that she will never be taken like Rin, and that they will be able to save her together. together. The two hold hands and continue the game, this time with a better strategy. While holding hands, Io uses her fingers to guide IG, allowing them to communicate without Kamamusabi noticing. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Rin is irritated that IG doesn't even seem to be trying to pursue her. Hattori guides her to a new destination to introduce her to his organization, Public Security Division 6, also known as PS6. Back in the cave, IG decides to use his own avatar to chase the ball. Kamamusabi is surprised by this, but remains confident that he will win. However, IG's move is nothing more than a distraction so that he and Io can jump together and capture the ball. Kamamusabi admits defeat, but before they can continue their conversation, Izumo's guardian and PS6 member, Matsudara Fumai, appears on a hoverboard. He uses his order, a water avatar, to attack them with a tsunami. Everyone is swept underwater, but IG uses his order to manipulate the air and create a bubble around the group. Even so, they remain at a disadvantage in an underwater battle against someone who dominates water. Kamamusabi advises them to unite their wishes with his orders, something they have never done before. IG suggests they retreat while he tries to contain the enemy. Io, however, convinces him to try to fight. Their avatars combine, allowing the new entity to predict Fumai's movements and redirect his attacks with air pressure. IG then orders an entire school of fish to attack Fumai, knocking him down. They drag him back to dry land and attempt to interrogate him. Fumai laughs and calls for Dai's. To IG's surprise, Dai's does indeed appear. Fumai explains that Dai's is actually a program designed to grant wishes. He orders Dai's to connect them to the others, and then a hologram of the other PS6 members appears, including Rin. Hattori orders one of the PS6 members to attack with a dimensional sword, cutting Fumai and Kamamusabi in half. At headquarters, Colonel Hiiragi caresses his cactus while looking at a photo of a man, until he is informed of Kamamusabi's death. A few hours later, he congratulates IG on conquering Izumo with few casualties. IG demands that Hiiragi bring Kamamusabi back to life using his order, but the colonel explains that too much time has passed for that. He orders IG to return to base. IG argues that he still needs to conquer Japan and find a cure for Sina, but Aihito urges him to simply obey orders. Otherwise, his father, Genai, might cause another great destruction. This further confuses IG, and he demands an explanation, threatening to leave on his own. Hiiragi then recounts that 11 years ago, he was a researcher at Genai's government agency. Back then, Genai would often praise him for taking good care of his cactus. The other researchers became jealous of their relationship and broke the plant's pot. Genai appeared and handed Hiiragi his coffee mug as a consolation. From there, the two began discussing Hiiragi's research into a new technology called Vacant coils. Genai was able to use these coils to convert human willpower into energy. They even managed to get an armless woman to write again. Genai's praise inspired Hiiragi to dedicate her life to him. However, Genai ended up using technology to create a wish-granting program, which he called the Accessible Wish Information System, or DISE. DISE was released into the world and began granting wishes. One of the granted wishes was IG's, which resulted in the Great Destruction. Hiiragi felt betrayed and has since done everything he could to prevent IG from falling into Genai's hands. Hiiragi couldn't accept that his father had done all this and tried to escape. However, the others stopped him and informed him that Genai had already infiltrated UN headquarters. Their true goal now is to conquer the world before Genai can influence it. Meanwhile, at the PS6 base, Hattori informs Rin that the next mission will take place at the enemy's own headquarters. In Izumo, IG is still trying to process everything he's learned. He still can't believe his father is alive and wonders if his memories have been manipulated. He then realizes there's someone who might know the truth. He calls out to Dai's, who magically appears in midair. Before he can ask his questions, Dai's interrupts, saying Rin wants to speak with him. She then creates a hologram of Rin in front of IG. On PS6, Hattori leads the operation from headquarters, using Jayube's dimensional sword. They've opened an underground portal in Dozafu headquarters, and another member, Mamoru, has already infiltrated. Thus, they begin the mission to kidnap IG's sister, Sina. Mamoru uses his order and summons an ogre. In Izumo, Hiiragi learns of the invasion of his base and begins organizing a defense. IG, Rin, and Dai's appear, and with Dai's, Hattori begins to taunt Hiiragi. Hiiragi discovers the target is Sina and orders the remaining orders at the base to protect her. The first to confront Mamoru is Fuwa. Fuwa tries to establish peace with his powers, but but Mamoru ignores him and leaps over him. His head is then destroyed by a light cannon fired by Mary. However, Mamoru's body is composed of small ogres, and he regenerates his head. Hattori then tells him that Mary uses light to attack, so he simply needs to blind her. Mamoru orders an ogre to steal Mary's glasses, and Hiragi decides to act as her eyes. He shouts directions, and Mary takes off. At the same time, Hattori instructs Mamoru on how to dodge. Lauren also arrives, using her flight powers, and tries to attack Mamoru, but is punched in return. Hiragi deduces that a spy is feeding Hattori information, and immediately suspects Rin. He then changes tactics and advises IG to use his power to command the others. IG issues the orders, and as expected, Mamoru tries to escape by another route, but unfortunately for him, a rocket launcher awaits him. Hiragi laughs uncontrollably, for his plan has worked. He had sent another text message with instructions. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Frank kidnaps a sleeping Sina from her room. It turns out that Frank was a double agent. A new hologram appears before Hiragi, showing Genai, who boasts of the victory and congratulates her son IG. Still in shock. The next day, Sina wakes up on a yacht surrounded by Frank and Hattori. Frank explains that she is now a bargaining chip. While the adults discuss their plans, Hattori tasks Rin with looking after Sina. During the bath, Rin recounts how IG caused the Great Destruction, resulting in the deaths of her parents and millions of others. She also explains that Frank lost his family and wished to save them, thus receiving the ability to stop time. As payment for Sina's kidnapping, Genai promised to bring Frank's family back to life. Unfortunately, outside, Hattori betrayed him and surrounded him with armed soldiers. Meanwhile, in Izumo, Io uses her ability to predict the enemy's next move and discovers the location of the Izanagi shrine. IG was about to leave, but the others stopped him. They try to explain that Sina is only being used as bait to lure IG, but he doesn't care. He severs the ties that bound him to the Ten and declares that, from that moment on, their relationship is over. On the yacht, Sina warns Rin that her revenge will not be realized. She affirms that IG will gladly die to save her. Sina tells Rin that if she really wants to hurt IG, she should just hit her again, like she did before. Meanwhile, Ayahito helps IG reach the Izanagi shrine. During the journey, Ayahito questions why he insists on saving Sina, even though he knows she will die in 6 months, and IG reacts violently, starting to beat him. When they arrive at the shrine, they find a large crack in the ground where they see a priestess who has been torn to pieces. At the base, Hiragi finds it strange that the Izanagi shrine is involved in Genai's plan. On the yacht, Frank tries to survive Hattori's soldiers when Sina intervenes. Sina, who could walk, had chosen to be pushed around in a wheelchair the entire time. Sina proposes a deal to Frank. She will threaten to give up everything if he is eliminated, and in exchange, he will act as her bodyguard. Together, they attempt to meet with Genai and negotiate directly. Alongside Rin, Frank catches up on everything that's happening with Sina. They explain that her father is Genai, and that he is currently the deputy director of the non-public security division. Sina finds this hard to believe, as she remembers her father having died. However, she also realizes she has never witnessed this moment. Meanwhile, Hiragi and the other members of the Ten are getting closer to Genai's plans. Based on the location of the dead priestesses and the shrines of the living, the 5 cities form an inverted pentagram. Furthermore, there is a spiritual energy line connecting Mount Fuji to Izumo. Hiragi recalls that one of the areas of research in the past involved the use of spiritual energy, and these lines, known as ley lines, based on the pattern formed by these connections and the inverted pentagram. Hiragi suspects that Genai is creating a massive natural Vekan coil, a technology used to convert willpower into energy. It seems that Genai is trying to open a portal somewhere, and that both IG and Sina hold the keys to it. In Osaka, Hattori takes Sina and his group to a hotel where they would meet with Genai. There, they would publicly announce that IG was the cause of the Great Destruction. After Hattori leaves, Sina attempts to communicate with the outside world using the hotel's telephones, but discovers that all connections have been cut. She even tries to borrow a phone from reception, but it doesn't have a SIM card. Despite this, she still believes she can save her brother, as long as she finds a way to put her plan into action. During dinner, Sina asks Rin to help her practice for the debate, preparing for their upcoming meeting. She decides to record the conversation so she can listen to it later. The two begin to discuss the idea that the true perpetrator of the Great Destruction is not IG, but Genai. A few hours later, they head head to the meeting location. Sina knows that if she met with Genai in private, Hattori would distort the conversation to frame IG as the culprit. To avoid this, she secretly invited the press from across the country to attend the meeting. Hattori is surprised and asks how she managed this. Given that she had ensured a complete cutoff of external communication at the hotel, Rin reveals that Sina sent the physical recording of the conversation to the press using a bicycle messenger. Despite the crowd, Genai makes her way through the crowd with a smile and greets her daughter. Upon seeing him, Sina realizes that this man is not the father she knew. However, Genai hugs her as if she were his daughter and whispers something in her ear. Sina pulls away in fright, but Genai simply apologizes for having been an absent father for 10 years. Sina confronts him for pretending to be her father and tells the press the truth about Genai's research agency. She plans to reveal everything to transfer the world's fury from IG to Genai. In the vehicle, Hiiragi and the others watch the live broadcast of Sina and Genai's meeting. Hiiragi knows that, upon seeing the broadcast, IG will surely try to invade the place. He then instructs Benkei to protect the last priestess. He also sends the rock god of Yamaguchi to protect the priestess of Mount Ibuki. Meanwhile, Hiiragi and Io head to Osaka. All the citizens of Japan watch the live broadcast and begin to express outrage at Genai. Genai admits that they did indeed create the orders, but points out that IG was still the one who killed millions of people. To Sina's utter confusion, she agrees with him. She also claims that IG declared an independent nation and is at war with the world. Sina doesn't understand why she's saying these things, but the words simply tumble out of her mouth. She claims that IG is about to kill again, and that Genai is only trying to stop him. Unbeknownst to her, Sina was mind-controlled the moment Genai whispered in her ear. The entire meeting was manipulated by Genai from the beginning. The townspeople, watching the broadcast, begin to protest and demand IG's death. Hiiragi realizes that Genai plans to use this popular anger to fuel the spirit lines. Meanwhile, IG finally lands in Osaka and captures Mamoru. While Genai uses his hypnosis to kidnap Sina, IG finds the Jayabei guard waiting. Before he can attack, Ayahito uses his ability to open a portal and allow them to pass unnoticed. IG's plan was simply to lure Jayabei away from the building. Avoiding confrontation, Genai is about to leave with Sina, but Frank and Rin stand in his way. Hattori tries to defend him using his bending ability, but Rin immediately threatens to kill him. Still, Genai summons his own avatar. IG is in the elevator and, upon exiting, sees Sina in Genai's arms. The two brothers try to reach each other, but in the blink of an eye, IG has his hand and foot severed. Not only him, but the entire building is cut in half by Jayabei's dimensional sword outside. The building shakes, and Sina screams at the sight of his brother's injuries. Genai greets him calmly and invites him to join them. He begins to recount how, 10 years ago, he used Sina to try to open the portal, but failed. Now, he intends to use all her life force to unlock it once and for all. Even though IG is still an essential part of the plan, Sina urges her brother to retreat and live his life, as she has already given up on her own. This deeply shakes IG, who begins to doubt himself. However, he remembers that he doesn't need a reason to save Sina and gets back up. Jayabei senses IG's determination and asks Genai for permission to face him. He recognizes that IG is using his willpower to move his severed limbs and has earned his respect. Genai consents, and Jayabei quickly advances to attack. Meanwhile, IG activates his power and orders Mamoru to create ogres. Jayabei wonders if he intends to use the ogres as a meat shield, but is surprised to see that IG is actually leading the attack. This moment of surprise causes Jayabei to hesitate for a few seconds, allowing IG to approach. At this distance, the dimensional sword has no effect, and IG lands a punch on Jayabei's face. Jayabei gets up, but before the two can fight again, Genai announces that the battle will end in a draw. He acknowledges IG's wish and asserts that if IG truly wants to make Sina happy, then he should follow him. A few seconds later, the entire building collapses. IG awakens with his body healed, but handcuffed. He is informed that Hiiragi has healed him. They are holed up in a safe house while the other members of the 10 prepare an attack on Genai base. IG wants to join them, but Hiiragi has ordered him stopped. Meanwhile, all the news reports the collapse of a building in Osaka, cutting it in half. causing hundreds of deaths. Security cameras show a man identified as IG running toward the building before the disaster, and the Prime Minister declares him the terrorist responsible. Meanwhile, IG remains handcuffed to the bed while a girl tries to alter his reputation and status. Elsewhere, Hiragi leads the 10 in their assault on Genai base. Benkei reports that he has secured the safety of one of the priestesses, meaning they have successfully stopped the formation of the inverted pentagram. Yamaguchi also announces that the priestess in his region is safe. In the cities, the continued slander against IG only fuels the popular hatred, whose emotions are being directed at the gate. IG continues to try to stop Io from forcing him to open her celestial gate. Io notices IG crying and finally understands that what he is doing is wrong. IG explains that in the past, he only saw Sina as his half-sister, but over time, they became a true family, and that is the only family they both have left. After hearing this, Io frees IG from the handcuffs and asks why he doesn't consider Genai part of the family. IG tries to explain that Genai is an imposter, but Io shows him a family photo they found in Genai's laboratory, which proves he is indeed their father. Io knows this because it was one of Genai's old experiments. IG walks away and feels a sharp headache as he tries to force his memories back. He believed he caused the great destruction that killed his father, but now that seems uncertain. Suddenly, Io notices an avatar attached to IG's head. Daiz appears and insists he's remembering the past incorrectly. On the battlefield, the 10 are gathering tanks, soldiers, and planes to attack the base. Hattori is panicking, but Genai remains calm. Mary tries to infiltrate the base using her light powers, but ends up facing a member of PS6 who can alter her 5 senses. Deeper into the base, inside a cell, Rin is handcuffed to the wall, with Sina in front of her. Rin keeps trying to free herself, but Sina asks if she would really be able to kill IG. Both have symbols on their eyes, a clear sign that they are under Genai's hypnosis. Genai arrives and leads Sina out. Before leaving, Sina tells Rin that she cannot kill IG, as he belongs only to her. Genai leads Sina to a huge golden gate. The place seems familiar to her, though she can't remember where. Genai begins to talk about her past, saying that her research always failed, until the day IG reminded her that they were trying to find a cure for Sina's illness. From that moment on, he dedicated everything to research, abandoning everything else. One day, a voice in his mind helped him formulate the gate theory. He explains that in this world, the physical body dominates the mind, but that there is another world where the mind dominates physical reality. With advances in the conversion of will into energy, he became closer to the woman who inhabits the mental world. Sina's wish was the key that opened the gate and gave rise to the orders. Back in his cell, Rin, after much suffering, manages to escape the handcuffs, relying on her healing power. At the gate, Sina despairs upon realizing she is the true cause of the destruction. Genai reveals that Sina was the first person to awaken powers. This caused the gate to collapse. Therefore, she is the only one capable of reaching it and communicating with the woman on the other side. Elsewhere, Yamaguchi is driving with the priestess when a bright light blocks the way. A small avatar appears in Sina's head, suppressing her memories. Genai orders Sina to remember, forcing the memories back. Sina begins to remember everything, and Genai smiles with satisfaction. Rin appears with her katana, but is struck by Genai's avatar before she can act. Benkei tries to escape the destruction, but Jayube's dimensional sword cuts his motorcycle and the priestess in half. In another region, the priestess protected by Yamaguchi is also broken. The inverted pentagram is complete. The other members of the 10 are unable to invade the base due to PS6's sensory altering abilities. They can't even save Mary, who is nearly killed until IG appears, falling from the sky. This happened because IG used his power to manipulate gravity and descended directly onto the PS6 member, saving Mary. IG decides to act the moment he sees the danger. Using his power to manipulate gravity, he descends with speed and precision directly onto the PS6 member, saving Mary from the attack. After the rescue, he continues advancing and finds Sina, who is lying inside a coffin positioned before the Great Gate. As soon as IG approaches, Genai greets him calmly and states that Sina has already agreed to cooperate with the plan. With a serene expression, Genai explains that his only wish is to open that gate and grant everyone's wishes. According to him, Daiz serves only as a conduit, a link between the two worlds. IG, suspicious of the logic behind this, tries to argue. He says that this idea of granting all desires makes no sense, as many of them can be conflicting, contradictory to each other. Dais then intervenes firmly and asserts that this kind of conflict doesn't matter. According to her, when distinct desires are fulfilled, the result is not confusion, but rather the creation of different universes. To prove her theory, Dais shows IG one of these worlds. He observes a universe where his wish has been granted, a scenario where he lives a happy life with Sina. She explains that this is what happens in the mental world. Each fulfilled wish gives rise to a new reality. Genai seizes this moment to try to convince IG that this multiplicity of worlds is not a negative thing. On the contrary, he says that this system would give rise to a true utopia, a place where everyone could be happy without restrictions. IG, however, continues to resist the proposal. He argues that desires have value precisely because they are difficult to achieve. If all desires were granted instantly, joy would become empty. Happiness, without effort, would lose its meaning. Even if Sina were cured in that alternate world, that version of herself wouldn't be real, as she wouldn't have overcome any pain. Genai insists, claiming that IG's power of domination is the key that can open the gate once and for all. IG refuses without hesitation. He decides to act independently and awakens Sina from her state, attempting to escape with her. However, Sina acts unexpectedly and strikes him. She reveals that IG is not responsible for the destruction of the world. The truth, she says, is that it was all her own doing. At this moment, Sina begins to have fragmented visions, memories that emerge in her mind like hallucinations. However, as these memories emerge, she realizes that many of them are not real and gradually fade. In the end, only one memory remains intact. It is the memory of when her brother, IG, gave her a beaded necklace for her birthday. This image is real, and as she remembers it, tears stream down her face. The weight of the past overwhelms her, and she recalls everything they experienced together. Back in the present, she looks at IG tenderly and declares her love for him. Even so, she plunges the blade into his chest. Dais, seizing the moment of fragility, reveals another truth to IG. She tells him that his memories are also compromised. The avatar inhabiting his mind has been silently suppressing parts of his memories. Everyone claims Sina was responsible for the destruction, but IG continues to believe it was his fault. At that moment, Genai decides to force the truth and uses her power to unlock the memories sealed in IG's mind. He then remembers a moment from 10 years earlier. Sina, as a child, had wished for a world where her family would never be separated. This wish, simple and pure, ultimately opened the gate. The power unleashed, however, was too great for her to control, and the world was destroyed. Feeling guilty, Sina carried this burden in silence. Faced with this revelation, IG approaches his sister with compassion. He consoles her, and when Dais asks him what his wish is, IG answers firmly. He wishes to bear all of Sina's sins. With this wish, he seals away both their memories and steals her power of domination for himself. In the present, the avatar inhabiting IG's mind finally vanishes. Sina, now fully conscious, admits that she destroyed the world because she couldn't bear the thought of her parents separating. That was the reason for everything. Now, she believes she must help Genai fulfill everyone's wishes as a form of compensation. Sina thanks IG for all the happy memories they shared, but asserts that her sacrifice is necessary. IG tries to stop her, trying to maintain the bond they built, but all he can do is hold on to the necklace she gave him many years ago. He tries to use his power to stop her, but Sina reacts brutally and cuts off his hand. Injured, IG falls into the water. Some time later, IG regains consciousness and finds himself being healed by Rin. She heard everything that happened and insists that there is still a chance to save Sina. IG, however, had already lost hope. He had given up. Rin, in tears, kneels before him and apologizes for attacking him in the past, when she believed he was responsible for the destruction of the world. As a form of redemption, she picks up a stone and stabs it in the eye, where the seal that bound her to Genai's mind control was. Driven by a mixture of pain and determination, Rin then slaps IG, forcing him to react. She begs him to focus, saying that Sina is simply acting the same way he did years before. If he truly loves her, then he can't give up. He must fight for her. These words rekindle something within IG. The flame returns to his eyes, and he asks if he can still dominate her again. At that moment, the two kiss. their desires unite as one. They both want, above all else, Sina's happiness. The gate begins to open. The glow emanating from it is so strong that it erases all the colors around it. IG and the other orders gather and advance together to confront Genai. Nahara steps forward and says she intends to use her self-destruction power to end everything. However, before he can act, he freezes in place. Mary tries to fire her light cannon, but is also paralyzed. Frank appears beside Genai and reveals he used his time-stopping power. IG fires his gun anyway, but the bullet is stopped. Frank had activated his third time. At that moment, Jayube appears, intent on acting, but is stopped. At that moment, IG and Rin emerge covered in flames. The two confront Jayube with their combined powers, withstanding the cuts and regenerating. Together, they crush him to the ground. IG then charges at Genai, while Rin lunges at Frank. Frank remains loyal to Genai, driven by a desperate desire to reunite his family. Genai asserts that Sina has made her choice and wants to sacrifice herself. IG counters by saying she's only acting this way because she believes she's worthless. He says Sina is crying for everyone and needs to be saved. To IG, Genai is simply trying to right past wrongs rather than accept failure. With his renewed willpower, IG breaks through his enemy's defenses and punches Genai in the face. Meanwhile, Hiragi and Ayahido fire another bullet at Frank. Since he's already used his power 3 times, he must decide which one to freeze. To everyone's surprise, Frank chooses to keep the others paralyzed for as long as possible, sacrificing himself. The bullet finally hits and kills him. As time resumes its flow, the bullet continues its trajectory and heads towards Sina. Genai, in a final gesture, jumps in front and blocks the attack with his own body, then falls. IG then runs to Sina, but she says it's too late. The entity is approaching, and soon, gigantic, long fingers emerge from the gate. The woman behind the gate, the origin of all orders, reveals herself. Those present try to stop the fingers with their powers, but nothing works. The divinity is beyond any known power. As the finger touches the ground, color begins to spread across the land. All wishes begin to come true. Benkei appears from the sky and tries to use his pulverizing power against the finger, but the attack is effortlessly destroyed. Yamaguchi appears and uses the rock god to push the finger away. Surprisingly, the strategy works. Hiragi speculates that the rock god is formed from human resentment, which may have allowed this outcome. Even so, the finger is still too strong. IG has one last idea. He calls out to Daiz and asks her to unlock his full power. Daiz warns him of the risks. He says this could lead to further destruction. IG, determined, says he can control it. He raises his hand and orders the world to be dominated. His will is clear. He desires a world where Sina can be happy. Color spreads throughout. His avatar takes form and destroys the hand emerging from the gate, pushing it back into the abyss. After this, months pass, and the world finds new stability. The agency led by Genai takes the blame for everything that happened, and IG is recognized as a victim of the entire crisis. The closing of the gate definitively closes access to the mental world, also ending all the Order's powers. On a quiet day, IG sits with Rin and Io in a cafe. They await Sina's arrival. During their conversation, Rin and Io ask what IG will give Sina for her 14th birthday. He hesitates for a moment and admits he had forgotten. Laughing nervously, he reaches into his pocket for something. To his surprise, he finds a familiar object. It was the necklace Sina gave him so many years ago. And that's the end of the story. Like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more videos.